Hey, hon.
You want some tea?
Hell no.
I'm British.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm African.
I have a good one. What would you say, or what will you? Is it will or would?
Each one works.
Okay. So what will you say
Hmm.
caused a major turning point for you as a husband
Yeesh.
in terms of picking up your mantle
You mean
as a husband?
like
What was one of the things that?
the beginning of my turnaround? Oh, yeesh, my epiphany.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. There was a lot of things, but I think what sticks out to me right now is value.
You you finding your value.
Value.
Mm.
And I think
I can
it's,
totally relate. But go ahead.
yeah,
Hmm.
I think it's one of the fundamentals that I went through. I remember we had one of our famous battles. Oh, Charlie God. And of course, I was exhausted. I was exhausted because I hated the whole idea that after every fight we make up because we know we love each other. Like, there was always a consistency with that. So why do we just go through these? So I was exhausted, and obviously I knew you were probably exhausted too. And I remember just being up there angry, accusing you, blaming you in my head, just going through the whole notion. And that was my first download, actually. That was my first ever. And I just had this explosion of knowledge. Like, a question with answers included. Like, do you know what your value is? Do you know value? An apple tree does not bear an orange fruit. That was the first things I went through, and I realized that I didn't have value or understood, or I didn't know what value meant as an individual for a man. I had no clue what that was because I was consistently just requesting validation from her. Like, and if I wouldn't attain that validation, then it to me is disrespect. So immediately that was I would say that was my first epiphany, if I should make it very simple, of understanding wisdom. And of course we all know who wisdom is. Wisdom is Christ. And it was beautiful. So what is value? Did you ever have anything like that too, just before I go into stuff like that? Like,
Yeah.
where you required consistent
Yeah.
validation from me, and
I think, and
tell me.
it's even a big thing for women, because especially in the African community, you sort of seek validation as a married woman from your husband. You know, everything, bearing your name is good and everything, but
Yeah.
it's like there's this thing about
I'm your all.
Yeah.
So you gotta give, I gotta give all to you.
Right. And it was that. And then the whole institution of marriage is you've been called to serve, right? But before you serve, because you're going to get down and dirty, kind of like when Christ had to go down on his knees and wash the disciples' feet. It says Christ, knowing where he came from,
knowing his worth,
right, and knowing where he was going,
it didn't bother him.
He girded himself, stooped down, and then washed his disciples' feet. If I'm gonna be your wife, I have to first know my value, and that's what I was lacking. I did not know my worth. I did not.
But wait, hold
have
on a
my
second.
value.
I thought you were asking me a question.
Right.
Apparently,
but
you had issues.
Right. It's the same.
Issues.
Like I
You
had
got
that epiphany
issues.
too, and it didn't change until I found my value in Christ. Like God, and ever since, and it wasn't. See, with that, you're delivered from being needy. Because that's what I was, a needy wife, depending on you for my happiness, for everything.
Now, see, let's not get some things twisted, because I wouldn't want to send the wrong signal out to people. Yes, we validate each other. Yes, we keep each other happy, but what we're doing now is we're not talking about the elemental stuff. We're not talking about the fruits of the tree. We're talking about the roots that feeds the tree.
Foundation.
The foundations, the roots. See, the value system, let's even break it down right now. Everybody uses Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're going to see me. You have your cell phones. How many of you posted something today? And immediately, regardless if that thing you posted was good, bad, regardless if it had the whole world's wisdom concentrated in there, how many of you were actually waiting for validation from other people? By likes and comments just to make you feel validated. That's what we're talking about. See, because I'm supposed to be somebody who loves her, which means that if I don't have the foundational value in myself to know what I'm about, again, an apple tree will not bear an orange fruit. If I don't know my own value within me, how am I able to identify a treasure if I see it, if I don't know what value is? So that's what I went through. The very first, morphing for me was value. It morphed, it changed my mind, it changed my heart, it went straight to my soul. It changed it changed my presuppositions immediately. It changed so many things about me, because the first value that was put in me was, you have everything it takes to be the best man you can be. In terms of love, understanding, in terms of patience, in terms of everything you need, you have it. All you got to do is start to administer those traits that are already within you. So I saw my value. I realized that I was very valuable. I'm not going to go into that because it's going to sound preachy, and that's not what I'm going for. Because he made me see my worth. And value has something to do with identity. When value means identity, it clearly defines the purpose. It unravels the purpose even more visibly to you. So for the first time in my life, I found myself not accusing or blaming her or thinking of all the other things she could have done or I could have done that escalated the situation. Immediately, I started thinking what I could do better. What can I do better to offset? What can I do better to de-escalate? What can I... Because value...
And you knowing your value, it doesn't take anything from you.
It doesn't. Right. It adds.
Actually pour out yourself and give to that person. It doesn't take anything from you, because before you, like, when you don't know your value, you're always scared, like, if I forgive him, he's gonna do this to me again, he's gonna hurt me again, because there's that fear. But once you know you're valuable and you trust in your worth, you know that in a sense, like, you are a bag of chips and all that, like you.
Well, did you just call me a bag of chips on camera? I mean, I am a bag of chips.
For you, like, you're the man. Like, like she needs me in her life.
See,
that's kind of like I am bringing good to his life. I am bringing harm.
So yours was more transformed into ego.
Yeah, but it's a really good ego.
No, it's not ego. It's just confidence.
Right. Thank you.
It's not
confidence.
It's confidence.
Yeah.
It can't be ego.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even if it's...
You want to add more?
Yeah, but nah, go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
That was some pretty good stuff.
It does that to you. Because, that...
So you can attest to what I'm saying?
Right.
You completely agree?
Right, definitely.
All right. So, value, if you look in a dictionary, actually states that it is a regard of something held to deserve importance. So literally, to make this glass valuable, if I fashion it, look at it, and hold it on a pedestal, it becomes important to me. Once I make it important, it attains value.
You've added value. Right.
But how do I put forth value if I am not valuable or not know my value?
How can you give something that you're not have?
That's why the first thing that he gave me was an apple tree does not produce an orange fruit. So I am demanding something of you that I don't even understand the basis of. To me, those it's one of the pinnacle foundations that exploded in me and made me a better man. I'll give an example. When you start to know your value, things change. Everything you look makes a difference.
How do you even know your? How do you find your value?
How do you find your value?
How do you know?
All right, so it's probably gonna sound weird, but I'll put it out there. You know how so many of us, when we go through tribulations and setbacks, we tend to blame the situation around us and blame everybody else except us. That's where I actually attain my value. Why couldn't you have another girl? I could have had another wife. I could have done this. I could have done that. I could have been here. I could have been here. I could have done. So you go through that, that slide, that backwards. It's I don't even have a word for it. And you start to realize how degraded you are. No, because everything that you usher comes from the heart. And they say abundance of the heart cometh the mouth, but most of the things that we say out to people are actually a representation of who we are within ourselves. But because we hate what is within us, we tend to hate when we see somebody try to do anything around that area, so we dish out and just speak out in our emotionality. I mean, that in itself is emotional imbalance. But God used a very simple route. Like, do you know how much a human eye costs? That was my first thing I went through. Do you know how much the set of a human heart, a human lungs? Do you know how much your intestinal organoids? Do you know how much each costs? Do you know how much a kidney costs? Like, I went through that system, and then I realized that I made you precious and I made you so valuable. You are a walking $3 to $5 million project.
And that's just physical.
Because God related to me at that point because I was more money conscious. So He gave me that relation. But then you would just act anyhow and do whatever. You don't care if it's money's money. You would just move without thinking. How can a $3 million project move to go do something that's worth $20?
It's funny. I don't know if men can relate to this, but as women,
wisdom
right?
is wisdom.
If you wear an expensive pair of shoes, you walk differently.
Why?
If you have it's natural. Even if you're not a materialistic person, your mind goes to and so you treat it better.
But you're saying it makes you feel
if you have an
something.
expensive designer bag, if you have an expensive dress on, expensive jewelry, it makes you feel different. And then you treat those things differently. That's the same thing. Once you know your value, you begin to treat yourself different and the things around you differently. And that's the same thing we come into marriage with. And then the sucky thing is we both came into it without knowing our value.
No, and why do you think I'm so upset in terms of all the you know what's going on with marriages right now?
God is good.
God is
How
fantastic.
does one find their value?
We'll go into that, but you actually drew my attention to something because as part of the epiphany that I went through, I realized that like you said, a bag can make you feel value. It makes me want to share this quick. If you don't know your value, it can be taken away from you. Somebody who understands value will take away your value, and you literally just use it for themselves.
And you hand it to them.
Value unused can be taken away. It's imperative that we know our value because if you don't, like I said, there is a reason why if you drive a Rolls Royce, it makes you feel a certain way. I don't want to go into spiritualities and crazy stuff, but there are reasons why. Value can be transferred. Sometimes they bring out these designer labels, we don't even know their names, we don't even know how they came to being, and all of a sudden it comes out and we just on it. Why? Because we want to get the validation from it. Because if I wear this, it's gonna put me in a certain, exactly. It's like a panacea. It puts you on a panacea of individuals walking. You feel like a god. So because you get that feeling, you're gonna do anything you have to acquire that. But see, the thing is, it still doesn't make you feel valuable. It still doesn't appreciate your value. It actually depreciates in itself. There are forms of value. There are value that appreciates. Love appreciates. It doesn't matter what time. Love is timeless. It is neither chronos nor kairos. It's timeless. It appreciates forever. But guess what? The human body depreciates. Guess what? Cars and the bags and all the other stuff, they depreciate. That means that a value transferred or stolen from a point A to point B might have that initial quality at a certain point, but at a certain point it's going to depreciate. But a value found as a treasure form, that is a gift given to us, those only appreciate. See, you said something initially about trying to attain validation from me as I wanted to attain validation from you. Now we still take validations from each other, but we do it.
It's more like confirmation.
It's an affirmation.
Right.
That's how we do, because now it's from a place of, if I know my value, everything I say is going to be something that appreciates the conversation. If I know my value, everything that I do has to be something that appreciates the relationship. If she's not having a good day and she's mad at something, in my head, there is no need to de-escalate this. This is my treasure. I worked hard to attain this treasure as a treasure hunter. And this treasure is valuable, timeless. It is eternity. How do I lose my marbles just because of a little mishap? Value. So I know the value of the individual that I'm with. So if there is a little, let's say, consternation or contention, why should we escalate it? This is not a time to throw individual egos and perceptions and point fingers to make it even worse, because we are still flesh and blood and we are people and we can have a bad time. Thank God for grace. Even He gives us grace. We can't even give grace to our own spouses. It makes me or you get that foundation that whatever the situation is, that's my treasure. And it's valuable to me. If you're not married, if you have a friend, see, value will do these things to you. It will open up all the opportunities for you. I'll give you an example. If you know your value will depict your identity. Your identity will clearly outline your principles, your creed, your pedigree, everything about you. So all these things being known will start to basically come into everything that you do. Example, the type of friends that you have. If the type of friends that you have are not according to the value system of you, you're gonna notice it. If the friends that you have are valuable to you, you will do nothing to depreciate that friendship.
They appreciate yours.
Thank you. You appreciate them. They appreciate you.
They add to your life.
And you add to theirs. So value system even clearly identify the usage of your time.
Oh yeah.
It makes you cut out the clutter. It makes you clearly state your objectives and your targets, because you're a walking project. Millions of dollars. The people in the hospital waiting for hearts, and they have millions of dollars, and they gotta wait. Yours is working fine, and God made you perfect. He created you the same way, comparable to the richest man. The only difference is the application of time. The ones that know their value. And I'm trying to put this notion out that you are more valuable than you actually know. I understand we're in a world where validation is really sorted. I get it. It is what we live in now. But this will be the very time to understand what value meant. Because if you clearly understood the foundations of value and the principles associated with it, nobody can make you feel something that you're not. Nobody can just push your buttons. You're not going to be emotionally distressed. You're not going to be immature. There's so many things that is going to, start to not make sense anymore. Are you trying to understand what I'm trying to say? I'm not able to dig into it, but I just want to just leave it a little bit bare because I want every individual to get the opportunity to find God and have Him show them value through His eyes, because that's the only way you're able to see the depth
Right.
of what He is, ingrained in you, and with that you're able to move in that capacity.
The manufacturer of a product is the only one that knows how to better operate it.
Yeah.
Or the instructions on how to operate it. And God is our creator. He's our Father. He's the only one that knows the real value that He put in us. He's the only one that knows the real value that He put in us. Like, we can find ourselves trying to tie our value to material things that can be seen, but our value is greater than that. It transcends beyond the physical. So, yeah.
That's why there's appreciating value.
Yep, and
Appreciating
appreciating everything you see. If your value is in things that are seen, it's definitely depreciating.
Eventually.
Eventually.
Yeah, that dude was real funny, man. But back to seriousness. So that was one of the major epiphanies that really changed my whole thought process in regards to who you were to me. It's like when the value hit me, when I started to update my mind on who I was in terms of in the eyes of God, it made me start to value you differently. It made me actually start thinking about you in ways that I never did. Like, am I treating her like God will? And then sometimes I go back to, but she's like, no. Am I doing the best that I can? You know, value was what birthed my identity. Identity was what birthed my understanding of servitude. Servitude was what birthed the understanding of love. And love was what birthed literally my livelihood. Like, literally, I'm like, oh my God, you made me a love machine and I never knew.
Kind of like, it's like the value He has placed in us is love, or with love, or something like that. It's the greatest.
So what I'll say to anybody that's watching us today is, I don't care the situation you find yourself in right now. I'm not trying to sound insensitive or incompassionate. That's not what I'm going for. I'm actually trying to, if possible, inject hope and imbue hope into any situation you find yourself in. Start to value yourself, and
there's value in you.
Please do not misconstrue value with ego or pride. That's not what I'm talking. I'm not talking about hubris. No, I'm talking about value. Pure understanding value. Your value, because if you fully understand your value, you never ever think whoever your partner is can ever take you for granted. Because in that disposition, in that understanding, when you deliberate on value according to the eyes of understanding through Christ, you will start to attain virtues, which that's a whole different subject for another day. You will start to get the wisdom of value. You will start to understand identity. You will start to see the differences associated with all those things and why you find yourself in a marriage. I'm telling you, these things are, it's like a glue. When you start to walk in value, it's seen. Just like when somebody buys a valuable merchandise, you can see the confidence shot. Just like you said, which I'm going to piggyback off, it's the same thing. When you start to value yourself, your confidence within yourself shoots up. But it doesn't shoot up in an egocentric way. It shoots up in a place where you are able to deliver and administer value to anything that you touch. Because when it's ego, you want to, appreciates in value whilst others depreciates. You want to hold the item that makes you feel better than the other person, so they go down.
Yeah.
But when it's real, the value from wisdom,
it humbles you.
It humbles you, and whatever you touch, you bring it to the level of value.
It humbles you, man.
Whatever you touch becomes valuable. So don't forget the definition of value was, the regard of, something held to deserve importance. So that means that everything that you decide to make important becomes worthy and valuable. So these are going to be, so if you find yourself in any type of predicament right now in your relationships, I want you to, go back into evaluations, go back to your knees, go back to the foundations of principles. Find that, that place where you're able to speak to your maker, who is going to evaluate you and present to you truths, that are within you don't know about.
You're fearfully
and masterfully. Now, I always say masterfully, I don't know why.
Yeah. We're God's masterpiece. So you're right, we're fearfully and wonderfully made. This value is priceless. That's why it humbles you.
See, because real value can never lose value.
Yes.
See, I'll give an example. Just because a doctor, right, comes into a laboring woman and then takes out a baby that's filled with all the
You've seen it.
I've seen it 5 times. So just because a doctor comes and delivers a baby who comes out looking gross and what have you, with blood and all these, I don't even want to go deep into that, does not devalue the doctor when he's done doing what he did. It actually appreciates him. Do you know what he says? I brought in another life. That's real value. Value is when you understand the fruit. And again, when God opened my eyes, he opened it through an apple tree does not bear an orange fruit. When an apple tree bears an apple fruit, it is not devalue. It will keep bearing fruits, which are going to be utilized by individuals who will get the nutrients out of them. So real value births value in everything touched. And
a multiplication effect.
And the biggest part which I love the most is, and I feel like, God is such a wonderful, God is, the moment you think you have attained value, so everything you touch is going to turn value, he's going to actually start to appreciate you, because the individual who you're going to start to showcase and administer these values and these, these
put value on them.
of course, they will start to reciprocate. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's too much. Oh, baby, I was just trying to do that for you. It's okay. No, I want to do that for you too. I mean, it's okay. You don't have to do that, but I want to do it for you. Because now it's like, oh, goodness plus goodness. Like, I'm tired. Go ahead,
So
baby.
once you realize how valuable you are, you begin to impart value on your spouse.
Yes. And that is just the nucleus of the conversation. You start to imbue value on your spouse, then you imbue value on your children, then you imbue value, inspire value on your circle of friends, then you start to go into the marketplace and wherever you go, then all of a sudden the ripple effects begin everywhere you are. There's smile, and you're not dependent on validation from others to make you feel valuable, but wherever you go, you impute value in people around your surroundings, and you just make everything shine. That's what value does.
That's some gospel right there.
I mean, you asked me the question. Those were my turning days. Those, when you started to enjoy who I was becoming, those were my turning days. Those were mine. So yeah, that's my answer. I'm done. Wow, that was like 55 years.
Yeah.
Hope you guys like these things that we do. We're going to continue doing them, because I tell you what, I have a boatload, because I wish a couple of you knew who I was. I really wish. And who I've become, and the wisdoms that I have attained through the process. I'm like a crazy machine. I just get up and just
I'm
start.
a love machine.
I just get up and I'm saying things, and I'm. The next subject I will want to talk about, honey, is I think I want to talk about communication.
Effective.
People use that term, effective communication. I don't think they get it. All right, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, it's midnight.
Yeah, we gotta go to sleep.
Good night.
I gotta go show some value.
Good morning.
Whichever way.